Hi, I'm Josh with SaddleCast. I want to show you where to position the cast in relation to the tape marks we previously applied to the horse's back. We want to make sure that we give ourselves plenty of time. Square up this front clear notch right with the center of the backbone, the back clear notch with the center of the tape or the backbone right there. And we want to move it up a little bit so that this tape that we have here will mark right along this edge, somewhere in the middle of this front lobe. The important thing to capture here is where the foremost or frontmost load-bearing portion of your horse is, so you make sure when you're saddle fitting that the tree doesn't extend beyond this and potentially push into where the movement of the horse needs to be free. So we're going to place this right about here, and I'm going to make sure that this line is going to come right up, and I'm going to draw a line there when we're done, and then centering it along the backbone. And at this point, leave the black plastic on and go ahead and just smooth it nicely down and try to get any wrinkles in there that you can feel nicely pushed out. This is going to give you just a better overall looking product and just a slightly closer fit. And we want to do everything we can to get as close to that as possible. So go ahead and work it in a little bit. So we've placed your horse in riding position with his shadow going straight out in front of him, as you can see on the ground here. That way the sun is facing directly the rear of the horse on either side evenly, and you have this nicely placed and you're ready for casting whenever. This is the time to just take your time, make sure everybody is nice and relaxed, and that we're gonna get a nice easy cast as soon as we pull this black plastic off. Once we do that, the saddle cast is going to harden in very short order, and we'll be completed with this process. Make sure that we've got a good spot and keep it there throughout the process. You don't want this shifting around during the hardening process, or you'll get an inaccurate cast. So when we're ready, the horse is comfortable, everybody's calm, take your time up to this point. After this, we're going to want to keep the horse as still as possible for about 3 minutes while the cast hardens. So we're going to go ahead and peel back this UV protective cover. There's some little spots that are not adhered. And I'm going to go ahead and gently take this and place this in my pocket. Nothing needs to happen quickly, nice and calm. Take it easy. And I can feel this cast starting to get a little bit warm right now from the sun. I'm going to keep him in riding position throughout the process and just kind of grab the edges and make sure it stays right where you want it. Right about there. Now for this part of the process, this does get hot, so we're going to leave this alone. This is keeping your horse nice and insulated. There's not a lot of heat, but it'll get up to a fairly decent temperature. So let's just go ahead and let that finish its process. The stiller we can be at this point, the better. So we just want everything to just take its time, nice and easy, nothing to do. Just make sure that as your horse twitches, that you keep this cast in this position right about where it was originally, and you'll have very little opportunity to change the shape at about this point, because now it's already starting to harden and it's already becoming firm. Now, depending on the time of year, the time of day, the angle of the sun, that's going to vary how much light this is going to get and how fast it's going to harden. At this point, the saddle cast is more or less hardened. We just want to keep it from deforming from this point on. If your horse gets very fidgety, if you're having a hard time, you can gently pull the saddle cast off like this, hold it up to the sun, make sure it keeps the same angles and conformation it's already in, and you can gently allow it to cure the rest of the way if your horse is having a little bit of a problem. But the best place to leave it is right there on your horse's back. And as I can feel now, the temperature's starting to come down. It's just getting warm, not hot. And at this point, it shouldn't move at all, and you have a full cure cast. So at this point, the saddle cast is hardened. It's cooled down to the point where I can just keep my hand on it. It's just a little bit warm. We can go ahead and finish this process off anywhere we want. So I'll go ahead and pull it off. And there is the cast of your horse's back, all of the different angles, etc. So there's a couple things we're going to want to do to mark where those tape marks are on here and get a couple of measurements I'll show you that'll be very helpful when you go saddle shopping. So we're going to go ahead and mark the saddle cast in order to make sure we know where this was positioned on the horse's back. For this, you're going to need the marker and the measuring tape that we provided before. So for the marking at this point, it's a good time to check to make sure you're in a pretty good position, that the saddle cast fits well You'll want this to be cooled down and firm so that it doesn't change shape on you. Put it back right where it was and go ahead and draw straight up from here a line for where the frontmost load-bearing portion of your horse's back is going to be, and that's going to go ahead and give us the front of the load-bearing portion of your horse's back. So I've gone ahead and drawn this front line here straight up from the tape so we know where the front of the tree cannot extend past. We have the center line back here. You'll just want to go ahead and mark where the center line of that back is. And then we want to measure the 18th thoracic vertebrae and where the rear end of the load-bearing portion of the saddle should be, or the saddle tree should be. So depending on the breed of your horse, age, etc., finding the 18th thoracic vertebrae, typically somewhere right around here, is going to require a little bit of understanding of the horse's anatomy. So refer to the sheets that we've given you and the instructions to find where the 18th thoracic vertebrae is. Go ahead and get our back into riding and 4 down. Make sure this is nicely positioned. And then we're going to go ahead and mark up where on this particular horse that 18th thoracic vertebrae is. And that will give us the overall length of the tree, or the not to exceed on the tree. The final measurement we're going to capture is the gullet width. So we can go ahead and move this back a little bit, and we can feel from the spinal column down past all this soft tissue until you get to a little ledge, which is a little bit wide on him right about here. So there's your gullet width. And what I'm going to do is go ahead and measure from right here to right here. And on this particular horse, it's just about 3.5, 4 inches. So I'm going to go ahead and mark that down. Go ahead and take the sticker off, place it on your SaddleCast right here. And then we could take this pen, and the gullet width is going to be 7 inches. 3.5 times 2. The saddle panel length, the second number on this sticker, is from this mark to this mark. So on this particular horse, it is 17.5 inches exactly. So once the cast is fully cured, cooled, stickered, measured, and everything's great, one last good idea is to go ahead and take it, put it back on your horse's back, and just make sure you got a good cast and that it fits still. Everything's conformed to the horse's back. We're all done, and we can go ahead and remove this tape. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, go ahead and check out the website, or feel free to reach out to us at any time. We're happy to answer any questions you might have. So that's SaddleCast. Now hopefully you take this to your local saddle fitting store, get a better, more accurate fit for your horse's back, and hopefully make the saddle fitting shopping experience a whole lot easier.